Listen to us live on Facebook, One Nation FM Story Blog, and click Listen Live, and you're tuned in.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Coffee and Conversation today on One Nation FM. Today we have a topic which is on the lips of many parents and many people in South Africa. It's the topic of comprehensive sexuality education, and I think it's a topic that most people, for the main part, are still in the loop about, meaning that they don't know much about it. When you talk to most parents about the comprehensive sexuality education curriculum in schools, a lot of them know the basics, not really the meat of the matter, and some don't even know what CSE is. Bearing that in mind, we thought it was important to do the show today, and we have a very important guest on our show today, Lauren Eviathan Bernardo. She is the founder of the hashtag Leave Our Kids Alone organization, which is an organization which aims to create awareness about CSE. And I think for all South Africans, the education system in our country, we find ourselves feeling that it's lacking a lot. And I'm just going to give you a few examples. If you look at the violence within schools, unemployment with people coming out of schools and not being able to find jobs, the low matric pass rates, the overfull classrooms, and children who are still waiting for places in schools, we find that leadership in our education department is lacking. So, yeah, particularly with regards to the role of teachers, the role of parents, where are we heading when it comes to raising our children in a way in which is good for them and good for their futures. So to waste no further time, I'm going to introduce you to Lauren Eviathan Bernardo. Hi, Lauren. Are you there? Hello, Lauren? Okay, so we're still waiting for the technician to get hold of Lauren. She will be with us in a minute or two. We have a WhatsApp number on which you can WhatsApp any questions that you have for Lauren. The number is 071 468 2834. Your question will be posed anonymously to Lauren, and she will try her best to answer any questions that you may have on the CSE curriculum in schools. So I just want to give you a little bit of information about CSE. Comprehensive sexuality education, from what I know and what I've read up on, is a new curriculum that's being implemented in schools. And this year, apparently 1,500 schools have been piloted with this particular curriculum. And this curriculum is aiming to teach things that are of a highly sexual nature to young children within the schools. But I'm going to leave Lauren to tell you more about this. Morning, Lauren.
Good morning, Samaya. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself. Thank you for joining us on the show today to discuss this very important topic.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you provided this opportunity. And I'm looking forward to go more in depth because we have more time.
Yes, I would hope so. Well, we have an hour to discuss this topic, and I think personally an hour is the least we can give to a topic of such grave importance to our children. Lauren, before we start talking about comprehensive sexuality education, can you tell our listeners who is Lauren Bernardo?
I am the creator of the group on Facebook, hashtag Leave Our Kids Alone. I've also been in politics for 6 years, and I'm a mom of 4 children. And, you know, more than anything, I care about the future of this country and about maintaining our freedom and democratic rights that have been given to us.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
To me, this is the number one biggest mission, to make sure that South Africa stays a country that is free, that respects people's individuality and respects the rights given to us in the Bill of Rights.
Okay, wonderful.
And, yeah, Leave Our Kids Alone is a group that started just a few days over 3 months ago. We're at 131,000 members on the group. So if you want, you can go find us at hashtag Leave Our Kids Alone. Then we also have a website where we put all the information that's necessary, www.leaveourkidsalone.co.za. So you can actually see statements from the education department, statements from the Minister of Basic Education, and then you can also read the scripted lesson plans and just find out basic information about what's going on at the website.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a YouTube channel where you can listen to all media interviews as well, where you can get the basics of what CSE is all about and how it affects every human being in South Africa.
Okay, so you obviously being a mom and having a history in the political arena have found that this is a course that is important to bring up and to create an awareness about, and that's what your organization is about. Am I right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so now to get to the matter of comprehensive sexuality education, I would just like you to clarify to the listeners, what is CSE? Because what I found is a lot of people are ignorant about it, either ignorant completely or ignorant to some extent. So can you tell us what CSE is?
Okay, gladly. I think when you and I were at school, we had what would be called sex education.
Yes.
So sex education would happen in high school, probably close to the age of 16, and then an external body would come into the school, either an organization or an individual, their self-care professional, and then they would describe the risks and dangers of being sexually active at a young age. And that's probably, we learned about contraception and various other things, and that's the extent of sex ed or sexual education.
That's correct.
But comprehensive sexuality education is a completely different thing. It's teaching children about their sexuality. So according to UNESCO, they have a specific definition for comprehensive sexuality education, and they say it is specifically a curriculum-based process of teaching and learning about the cognitive, emotional, physical, and social aspects of sexuality. And it also aims to equip children and young people with the knowledge, skills, and attitudes and values as well that will empower them to realize their sexuality.
Okay, so it's a value-based system that teaches children their sexuality and that it's okay to adopt certain ways of life or certain sexual identities that that the school is teaching them is okay, which may obviously not be okay with the parents who are teaching them other value systems.
No, well, that's the thing. I call it an ideology, and one of the main aims is to help children navigate sexual relationships. So CSE has been in the school curriculum since the 2000s, and CSE is a UNESCO program. So
and UNESCO is part of the United Nations, am I right? What is UNESCO?
UNESCO, yes. UNESCO, it's the education part of United Nations. So they have everything to do with these programs for schools. They look after scientific and education-based things. So they have developed this program to meet the United Nations demand for quality education across the world. And I believe CSE is necessary for our children.
Okay. Now, can you give us examples of what they'll be teaching us, our children, in the CSE curriculum in school? And if I'm correct, it's part of the life orientation subject.
That's correct. Okay, so I'll just clarify a bit more.
Yeah.
Since the 2000s, CSE has been in a life orientation curriculum. And now, this is why the group was started to begin with, SLPs have been created to strengthen, this is the words of the department, to strengthen comprehensive sexuality education in schools.
So, sorry, what are SLPs? Sorry, yes.
SLP stands for scripted lesson plans.
Okay.
So there's scripted lesson plans for every grade from grade 4 to grade 12. In each grade, there's an educator's guide and a learner's book. And it's exactly that. It's a script. So the Department of Basic Education is training teachers to teach from these scripted lesson plans from beginning to end. So it's not like in the past with life orientation, teachers would go through the book and they'd just skip certain pages that they don't feel is appropriate. So some schools did teach CSE in the past, other schools didn't. But now there is no more choice in the matter. Now it has to be taught because now they have to follow these scripted lesson plans, and there will be consequences if they don't from the Department of Basic Education.
Okay, and what are these consequences, Lauren?
Well, Auntie Mateka she's the Minister of Basic Education, she didn't exactly explain what, but she did say that they will be disciplined. Teachers will be disciplined for not teaching CSE. Unfortunately, it hasn't been specified, and nor have they been very clear on what discipline means.
Okay, so teachers don't really have much of a choice whether they want to teach this curriculum or not. So they're being forced to teach it. And
Yes, that's
and
correct.
with regards to, parents who are against this or who do not want their children to be taught the CSE curriculum, what has the response of the government been to parents and teachers, faith-based organizations who have objected to this curriculum being implemented in the schools?
Well, the government, I've watched various media interviews with the spokesperson of the Department of Basic Education and as well as the minister itself. They have said things like parents need to get with the program. Parents need to realize that times are changing. They've completely undermined our individual opinion and rights as parents. They've ignored any parents' pleas to not have this in the curriculum. So the tactic that the government is going with is completely ignoring religious bodies and completely ignoring the people of South Africa who have a problem with comprehensive sexuality
So
education.
this is something that I never thought I would see as a South African since 1994, where democracy is so cherished and freedom of religion and freedom of your freedom of religious rights was really upheld in our country. And I think for most people who do follow one of the major faiths, comprehensive sexuality education is something that they are not happy with and would not want their children to be part of in the schools. So if we have a department who is obviously under the banner of the ANC government telling us that you do not have a choice whether or not you want your child to have to learn this curriculum in the schools, that is the complete opposite of democracy, wouldn't you think?
It is. I actually think democracy ended when Nelson Mandela decided not to take his second term. When he left the presidency, I think democracy started dying from the moment. And it was a very exciting time in South Africa. I wasn't even in junior school yet in 1994, but it was a time of excitement when everyone had freedom. But did we really have freedom? I think what has happened slowly over time is an erosion of that freedom. And what that ends up with is a government that is more and more powerful. And a government needs problems in order for it to stay in business.
Right. Okay.
And that's the problem with our political system, is that the government feeds off the problem. So very much, whether directly or indirectly, whether consciously or not, the government has created a lot of problems in this country. And then it provides solutions. So some people might say, okay, we have a problem of teen pregnancies. And then the government comes up with a solution which it gets from the UN. It's not actually a solution. It's going to cause more problems. But it looks good. They've done something about it. So then they'll do something else about the further problems it's going to cause. And so perpetually into eternity, they just gain more and more power while the electorate get more and more dumbed down by the education system and by society. That we have here in South Africa.
So it's almost kind of a sinister agenda behind the whole CSE curriculum, behind everything that's happening in our country. Would you say that there is an agenda behind this?
I think there's a huge agenda. It starts with the United Nations, and the United Nations is an organization I always look to as a young child as this organization that can save the world, and it's all about world peace. And everything on the outside looks fine and sounds fine. And even their sustainable development goals, they have 17 sustainable development goals, and that's things like no poverty, no hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality, clean water. It's all things that sound wonderful.
Yes.
But we must remember, if you take those 17 goals, which no one can really argue against, and give it to 10 random people, 10 people will each come up with their own method of achieving those goals. And it's the methodology that is so sinister and evil. So the United Nations, in my opinion, has implemented CSE as well as many other things in government that most people are not aware of because we're not involved, and nor is there such a thing as public participation in this country, to destabilize the country and to completely disempower the population. They need that. They need, across the world, populations to be disempowered so that we do not resist what they are planning, which is, in essence, the world domination of resources. That is what they want. That's why there's so many campaigns against climate change and all of those other things. It's about
it's the new world order
they dominate resources.
So basically, we're moving towards a new world order. In essence, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, you can call it that. Many people are nervous of that term and they associate with conspiracy theories, but it's been well documented in speeches across the world by leaders and in nations. This new world order, and that's exactly what it is. And it's not something that's coming. It's something that we are already in, and they are just moving towards perfecting it. And that is why them attacking our education system is so important, because our children will grow up with a completely different set of values. They will undermine their parents. The family unit will be broken down. There will no more be such a thing as a male and a female, a mother and father. There won't be any religious values. And what you have there is a complete society of individuals who are slaves to the state.
Yeah. So it's often said, and we've often been taught that if you want to attack a nation, you attack the family unit, and this is exactly what they're doing. It's the aim is to break down the family unit, and they've used other methodologies like the media, like the internet, television, music as well, which really today's music is absolutely aberrant when you listen to the lyrics and the words. It's actually conveying absolute filth to people that listen to the music, and I think the direct attack now, it's so blatant and so unashamed, that is actually saying that we're going to take this absolute nonsense or rubbish and we're actually going to make it part of the schooling curriculum, and you have no say about it. You have to let your child learn it, and we're going to sugarcoat it and put it in a way that makes it look beneficial to society and community. But what is is this allowed legally? Because if you look at it, it sounds like it's violating the rights of the parents, and it's actually violating the right of the child. So legally, is this allowed?
For legally, that's a tough one. For any normal, rational human being that has been brought up in a decent household, this seems like a gross violation of human rights and on children's rights as well. But if you look at Canada, for instance, children have rights over and above that of their parents. So the government gives more rights to children than to parents. So they feel like sex education or comprehensive sexuality education is a requirement for a child. It's not just a requirement, but a right for a child to have. So for any conservative person who wants to teach a child abstinence, for any conservative person who wants to teach a child to wait until marriage before they get into any sexual relationship, for us to teach our children that there are only two genders, male and female, that is starting to be seen as a violation on people's rights, on minorities' rights. And that is starting to be seen as a threat to the rights of the transgender community and on minority groups. And that's starting to be attacked. So we're at a very funny point in society where anything that is logical, rational, or normal is starting to be seen as a threat to the new regime.
Okay, and this is what you're saying is absolutely, my heart is beating so fast I can't tell you, because what you're saying is absolutely scary. But what scares me even more, Lauren, is the inactivity and the blasé attitude that we are dealing with this as parents, as society, as community. Because if we have this full force of this elite that is coming into our schools, coming into our homes, indoctrinating us and telling us that your belief system is outdated, that religion is a thing of the past and it's old fashioned, that sex before marriage is it's violating, it's actually somebody's right to have sex before marriage. I'm shocked that we as parents, that we as a community, that we as a society are still not doing anything about it.
You know, that's one of my biggest frustrations as well, because, comprehensive sexuality education is a huge deal because it affects our children. But there are many laws and bylaws at local government level that have snuck in, and we aren't even awake to it. We don't know when these things are going on. We are so very busy surviving in this mainstream economic system. Remember, there is no escape from this economic system that we live in, because government also has heavily commoditized land. because it's a means of income for so many people. We are not free. We haven't got the ability to live independent of this economic system. So basically, we are already slaves to a system, but we have enough freedom and enough things to enjoy to just keep us going. And I mean, I was thinking about the other day. Imagine you take alcohol away, you take cigarettes away, you take drugs away, you take sugar away, you take fast food away. That's when we'll see a revolt. Before then, people are too comfortable. The fruits of Babylon, the fruits of capitalism are just too enticing to stand up and sacrifice those small comforts for our freedom.
Yeah, so I think that's the modus operandi, is to give the community things to keep them entertained and happy, give them their iPhones and their iPads and their laptops and their Netflixes and, all the McDonald's and, enough to keep them entertained and happy and dumbed down so we can actually infiltrate their homes and infiltrate their schools, and they won't really say much about it because, like you say, they're too busy keeping themselves happy with these things.
Yes, and I think, that's the danger, because it seems fine and innocent. And, in the system, if our leaders were good and righteous, it would not be a problem. The problem we're sitting with here in South Africa is that we do not have righteous leaders. We have power-hungry, greedy individuals who just want to keep on earning their salaries and keep on increasing their power and keep on making sure their family also have a share of that greed and power. And because our political system allows such evil individuals to flourish in government and politics, that is why we are sitting in a situation we are. The democracy that we have in the system we have inherited. Remember, we inherited the political system from Britain. It's a UK system. It's not a South African system.
No.
And remember, South Africa is also very rich in resources. We're a very wealthy country.
Yes.
And other nations want to share of that wealth. So it's not in anyone's interest that South Africa flourishes, and it's not in anyone's interest that the people of South Africa flourish.
Yeah.
And so what you see is you have the global problem of consumerism and the society we live in, but then we also have the South African problem, because we are a special country.
Yes.
And that the people in South Africa are special. We are a very diverse nation. We are the most diverse nation in the whole world. And if we unite, it will be a very scary thing for entities like the United Nations and for other world powers that want their finger in the South African pie.
Absolutely.
And right now, they have realized that we have, just sat back and voted once every 5 years. And that's where we leave our democratic activity. And now they realize the environment is right for them to attack our children. And that's exactly what they're doing and have been doing since the 2000s. The 6 years past democracy, CSE was implemented. They didn't waste much time.
Yeah.
And now they are accelerating the rate at which they want our children taught this vile and evil nonsense.
Yeah. Well, in saying all of this, do you think as South Africans we still have the ability to prevent this from coming into our schools if we unite? And do you think we have the will to do that?
Well,
as civil society?
So. There's 14 million adults in South Africa.
Our population is 58 million, I think 59 million.
Yeah, and about 30% of that is children.
Yes, that's correct.
And then on Facebook, we have 9 million South African adults. And, our page only has 131,000 people, which sounds like a lot of members. But in essence,
it's not.
There are many people that are missing out on this information, perhaps because they live in rural areas and don't have internet access.
Yes.
There's many people that either just haven't got kids yet, so they're not interested in the information about CSE. I do think, I would not be able to cope with life in general, nor would I still be in politics, if I didn't think that there is hope for South Africans to put aside their differences, unite, and take a stand and change this country forever. We do have that ability, but do we have the will?
Well,
I think with things like comprehensive sexuality education, and I think when our children get threatened, I think the will of the people increases.
Okay,
and
wonderful.
so as much as this is a huge threat, it's also a huge opportunity. And that is what we're seeing on the group, is a diverse group of people getting together and talking to each other and talking about their children and talking about how to protect their children. So I think with time, we are going to put a stop to this. I've decided to dedicate this entire year to educating South Africans on CSE and on the implications it has on society, and especially on our children. And I think the important thing is we have to learn to climb out of our comfort zones and realize that to live in a democracy requires you to be a citizen and not a subject. You're a citizen in a democracy. And in order to have South African citizenship requires certain responsibilities from each individual member. And part of that responsibility is being awake and aware to the changes and things taking place in government that we just leave up to our leaders.
Absolutely.
So an important thing is that we act like subjects. We have this mentality in South Africa that when there's a problem or an issue, we want the government to come up with a solution. And yes, the government is doing a terrible job at the things that they're supposed to be looking after. But we as citizens, I find, and in the work I've done in politics, I find that people want the government to come up with solutions that only communities can fix. Things like drugs, things like addiction, those kinds of things isn't up to the government to fix. Communities need to fix that. And we actually saw that in Cape Town, not in Cape Town, in the Western Cape, in one of the small towns, where there was continuous gang violence, drug dealing taking place, and the community stood up and they united and they marched to all the drug dealers' houses and they called the police and they got them arrested.
That's
the community
amazing.
stood up and fixed up their own problems instead of relying on the government. And we need to shift. We need to decide where do we want to see ourselves in the next 20 years. And we need to decide if we want to actually have autonomy and individual rights, or if we just want to leave everything up to the government to fix and control. And I think we're at that turning point where we need to make that decision.
Yeah, that's important information, and it's an important message that you've just sent across to people that are listening, that we can either be subjects or we can take control of our lives and make a difference in our own lives and stop depending on the government. Lauren, with that, we're just going to go to a short ad break and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Listen to us live on Facebook, One Nation FM Story Blog, and click Listen Live, and you're tuned in.
Sebo ya gago ka tša go aga dintlo le go agela ruri e tla ka go naba dilo tšeo o bego o di tshediša mahlo le go se di kgathalle di tla go tlhaloša ka gore o tshwanetse go tseba nnete ka gasamente sa quality. PPC e go tlišetša ka boikgantšho tshwantšhetšo dikgang ya dikagong mo re kopanago le ma PPC bommagwe le kwakwariri ye boleta go goba puku bja tsebo ya disamente ya go sepela ka dinao ra lebenkele la tša dikago la mo motseng ntate mothusi itukišetše go tla go ithuta le go kgahlwa ka ge o le motheletši yo botegetše go radio setiši se sebe wa hlaelwa ke dikagong ka labone le lengwe le le lengwe ka metsotso e 25 go ya iring ya botshelela mathapama o tlhoye tsebe gape ka mokibelo gare ga iri ya botshelela mesong le iri ya bosenyane dikagong mo go agiwago.
It's back to school time this January, and so is our amazing low prices. Get a gift wrap 1 meter for R5.99, plastic cover 5 meter R8.99, and A472 pages book for only R3.99. Don't forget to add your color craft 6 meter for R12.99. Lunchbox Otima 1.2 liter snap is only R9.99. And lastly, our Otima water bottle 500 milliliter yona fela we khwetsa R7.99. For January only, hurry to Super Save Polokwane for more low prices. Super Save, your number one store.
Kids these days are smart, and when you're competing for their attention against their smartphones, you need to make smart choices, like using Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil in every meal you make. It's naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether you're cooking, frying, or baking, you get the great tasting results that'll get their attention faster than the latest app. And if that doesn't work, change the Wi-Fi password. Sunfoil. Now we're cooking.
Listen to us live on Facebook, One Nation FM Story Blog, and click Listen Live, and you're tuned in.
Good morning and welcome back to Coffee and Conversation. With us we have Lorian Aviathan Bernardo, who is the founder of the Leave Our Kids Alone movement, which is a movement which is aiming to bring awareness and help to prevent the CSE curriculum from entering our schools. Lauren, hi.
Hi.
Hi, Lauren. So to start where we left off earlier on, we were talking about the role of civil society and community in stopping CSE from getting into the schools. Can parents, or do they have the ability, not the ability, or will they be allowed to opt out of their kids being taught this curriculum? So if I'm a mom and my child is being exposed to the CSE curriculum at this particular school, can I approach the principal and say, I do not want my kid in this particular lesson or this class?
We've advised our members to do that, but unfortunately what the Minister of Education said is that there is no opt-out. And all that you can really do at this stage is take your child to a school that offers a different curriculum other than CAPS. That's the solution that she has given. The other cheeky solution she's given is that parents can come to the school and come sit with their children during life orientation so that the class can go ahead. So it's a very arrogant and cheeky
Absolutely.
remark. It's not actually a solution. So there is no opt-out. The government, she said, and in a recent article I shared yesterday, she said that the government is ultimately responsible for children and not parents.
Excuse me. She said the government is ultimately responsible for children and not parents.
Yes.
So it's exactly what you've been saying. It's exactly what you've been saying.
The mentality they have. Remember, they go to all kinds of events and conferences where they get wooed and given food and who knows what else by these massive organizations. And because our officials might not be that intellectually endowed or might not be that politically experienced because they got there via connections, because they maybe don't have any experience in a professional working environment, because they come from a place of suffering and a place of poverty, and all of a sudden were just elevated to these massive positions where they're earning 200,000 rand a month because they're a minister, to then get wooed and shown presentations and taken to hotels and fed delicious food. It's easy for them to accept whatever is given to them. And they often praise the studies and the overseas experts and those kinds of scientific studies that have been done by overseas experts, completely discounting South Africans and completely discounting the professional opinion of professional South Africans, like professional medical doctors or professional child care experts or professional child psychologists.
So there's an absolute lack of leadership in our government, basically.
Yeah, completely. And that's the problem. That's the problem. Even Cyril Ramaphosa, the president, is not leading. He's just fulfilling an administrative role as the role of president of the country. And what we're seeing is a lack of leadership. So I think leadership is a very interesting topic, because when we think of leadership, we think of one person in charge of many. But leadership starts on an individual level. So we need to be our own leaders in our own lives, in our own homes, in our own communities. And then we will recognize other leaders who can become our representatives. But if we're not leading ourselves first, we will be led by people that are not qualified to do so.
Absolutely. And the strong lead the weak.
Yeah.
And
so we need to evolve as a society. We need to politically and socially evolve as a society to realize no one's coming to save us. There's no political party that's going to rescue us. There's no one person or one entity or one organization that's going to provide all the answers to all the questions and all the solutions we need. We need to start leading, and we need to start taking charge.
Absolutely.
And it's a huge mind shift change. But the not doing that has resulted in comprehensive sexual education being snuck into our school curriculum, our compulsory school curriculum. And it's been going on since 2000. So if you go to the group, #LeaveOurKidsAlone, and you just go on the timeline and have a look at the photo section, you'll see that parents have actually taken screenshots and photos of the current textbooks, not the SLPs that are coming,
right?
But the current textbooks that have been there since the year 2000. And there are some of the most horrendous things in there. There's like a sketch of a man watching porn on his computer. So it's a drawing. There's a father figure sitting on a chair looking at a computer screen with a skinny girl with big boobs clothed. But this is one of the pictures in the current books that kids have to look at. And, maybe, I don't know if we can cover some of the content in the SLP.
Yeah.
The new SLPs right now are in 1,500 schools.
Okay.
And next year, in 2021, all the schools will get it. So, like in the grade 10 learner book, there's a whole activity, a group activity, asking children to explore the kind of messages the media sends about romantic relationships and about gender and about sexuality. And it's if you read the entire activity, it really lends itself to getting children to question sexuality and gender norms. So there's no such thing as male and female. You can be female and you can identify as being a male, or you can be a male and you can be identified as being a female.
Yeah.
And it's about normalizing that, and it's about making it okay. And you must remember, children and teens are very impressionable.
Absolutely.
And that has to be. They're children. They're still learning. But instead of parents giving their children the correct and moral guidance that we should give them, the school is filling their minds with all this ideology that is complete contradiction to religious belief.
Absolutely.
There's other examples. My child's in grade 5, and there is a lesson plan that involves quite in detail discussing 4 boys sexually assaulting another boy during school time. And many people in the group have rightfully said a lot of these things sound like a page in a porn novel, because it speaks about the details and the feelings, and it's not necessary to put those thoughts into our children's minds.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just look at the one grade 8 lesson plan, there's a learner role play script between a couple, and it's about a grade 12 couple, and it speaks about, I'll just read what Nadine says. They're kissing on a Saturday night, hanging out at Nadine's house when flirting turns into kissing. So Nadine says, "This feels so good. I didn't do this before. I want you to be my first." And then Zubair says, "I'm not into you, but I don't have a condom with me." And then it carries on for the whole page. The script carries on. Now this is a 12-year-old. Can you just imagine a 12-year-old girl or 12-year-old boy sitting in a mixed class, having to either do or listen to this learner role play script?
It's absolute rubbish. It's absolute. It's disgusting. Sorry
It's
to say.
disgusting.
And I just want to point out also the fact that they've used the name of the boy is a Muslim name. And I'm from a Muslim background. I'm a Muslim person, and we hold dear. And I know things are changing because of modernization and westernization, which is, like you say, creeping into our homes and in our value systems. But for the most part, a big section of the Muslim community still holds dear the values of no sex before marriage and modesty and all those things. And this is just putting forward that it's okay, that the Muslim kids are doing it, so it's okay for you to do it. And that's not what I teach my children. That's not the way I grew up.
That's exactly the mentality that the government has. So because some children are doing it, let's teach all children about it in detail.
Yeah.
And that is wrong. And the government, I just read to you a tiny little line from one activity in grade 8. There's much more out there.
Yeah.
The government claims that this content will not sexualize our children.
But that's absolute bizarre. That's bizarre. If my child or if your child or if anybody else's child has not been exposed to these concepts or ideologies or realities, and you then, for the first time as a teacher in school, puts it into their heads, how is that even going to benefit the child in any way?
It's absolutely not. And I've spoken to child psychologists and social workers who said to me that it's more so our most vulnerable children that actually are exposed to sexuality. So any child at any age, if you are a child, even if you're a young teenager and you are exposed to sexual content, you are being neglected by your parents. If you're being sexually abused, you're either being neglected by your parents or your parents are the abusers. That is child abuse. And studies have been done to prove that whether a young child is actually physically molested or whether they are exposed to sexual material, their brain perceives that in the same way. and it has the same damaging effect. So a child coming across porn versus a child being molested by an uncle or whatever, they will be traumatized in the exact same way.
So what they're doing is if they fulfilling that role at school, so they're putting this material in front of our kids and saying, yeah, no, you need to learn about this because it's happening out there. So we need to prevent you from partaking in this, which makes absolute no sense at all.
It makes no sense. But now remember, as certain kids have been sexually molested or come from homes where there's a lot of sexual content or very sexually charged atmosphere, which it shouldn't be, this content and sitting in this class setting and having to partake in group discussions and having to be in a mixed class and having to actually go through this detailed literature, it will actually bring about what is called secondary trauma. So forget the trauma they already experienced being abused at home or wherever or in the community. Having going through this material, they will be traumatized yet again, and traumatized, you can be rest assured, at every single life orientation lesson where they have to learn this, and it will just compound their trauma, and it will affect them even more and even more deeply. So the government is not caring about any of these children, and especially the most vulnerable that needs protection from this material.
Absolutely. And then how is Leave Our Kids Alone? What is the aim of your organization on social media and on other platforms in terms of, I know you want to create an awareness, and how are you doing this?
So far, it's really only been on social media, on Facebook. We've wanted to increase the group size to get people to know about Leave Our Kids Alone, get people to know about what we're doing. So what we want ultimately, we want comprehensive sexuality education completely out of the school system. So we don't care that it's been there since the 2000s. We don't care how long it's been there. We don't care how much the UN justifies its existence. We want it out of the school system completely. We don't want it in junior school. We don't want it in high school. It needs to get out of the school system. And then we want the government to respect the rights of parents to teach their children according to their own beliefs.
Right.
So they must take CSE out, but they mustn't think they can go replace it with their own version of it. We want the government to respect that parents can teach their children their values according to whatever religion they belong to or whatever beliefs they subscribe to. And we want government to stop normalizing gender fluidity. And we want government to allow us as parents to teach our children that there is a difference between males and females, and that males and females will never be the same. Yes, we deserve to be treated with equal respect, but we are not the same.
Yes.
And we never will be. And mothers have a specific role in society. Fathers have a specific role in society. And we need to carry on respecting that. It's the fact that society has moved away from that that we're sitting with all these problems.
And in saying that, I think our education system is to blame for a lot of it, Lauren. I mean, if you look at it, you spoke about leadership, and we don't have leadership in our homes. We don't have leadership in community organizations, and we don't have leadership in government. And I think a big reason is that the system, and that's what it is, our education system is meant to dumb down our children instead of teaching them about current issues. For example, like what's going on in China about the Uyghur Muslims. How many kids really know about it, or how many kids really care? If you talk about the situation in the political arena in the United States and what's happening with Donald Trump and the impeachment, current affairs. If you talk about those things to even adults, people don't really even know what's going on. So they don't make an effort to know or create an awareness around themselves about what's happening out in the world. And schools themselves are not teaching them to become leaders and to create an awareness of current issues. Climate change, for example, most schools are not even engaging in any action towards climate change. Yes, they know it's a topic, they write an essay on it, but there's no real involvement with regards to action by the children taking part in these things. So, when I look at some of the comprehensions that my children bring home, it's about movies and it's about things like that. It's not about issues of relevance. So the type of child that we're molding and creating to come out of 12 years of this education system is a child that's completely self-absorbed, self-centered, maybe knows a bit of math and science, but has no leadership qualities and no desire to lead.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. You've summed it up very well. And I think it's a very shallow education system. And even if you look beyond the life orientation curriculum, what you see is a very shallow type of learning. There's nothing of substance that can help a child evolve so that they can share whatever their God-given talents and abilities are with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And it's a very narrow-minded view on education, and the education system as a whole in South Africa needs to change if we want to see an empowered citizenry rise up in the future.
Yeah, and I just want to say that the role of parents is an important one, because you are the guardian of your child. And yes, we look for the best schools to send our kids, thinking that they'll get the best education. And mind you, some of the parents will not mind paying whatever price it is that they need to pay to get this kids into a school which is known as an elite school or a really good school. But do we even bother really finding out much about the school? Do we bother finding out the type of teaching that happens in the school? Do we bother finding out the value systems of the teachers and the principals that are heading up that school? And do we encourage our children read? Do we encourage them to watch the news? Do we encourage them to go out and get involved in community projects? We're not doing this. And again, a lot of the blame has to lay at the feet of the parents, because myself included, we're too busy. Number one, we ourselves are addicted to technology. So if we're not watching TV, or we're not on our phones, we're watching Netflix. And what message does that send across to our child? So we're happy to outsource our education, our children's education. We're happy to outsource our children's entertainment. We're happy to outsource things to other people to develop our children in a way which we should be doing.
We should be doing it, absolutely. I think school is very much a babysitting institution, because moms and dads both these days work. Most moms work these days. Back in the day, it was normal for a mother to stay at home and look after her children, at least for the first few years, and that's no longer possible because of the economic climate, which has been brought about largely because of an incompetent and evil government. And we're thrust into this society where we're all just trying to survive and get by. We spend hours in transport getting to and from work, and then we spend hours at work. By the time we get home, we just indulge in technology or in the TV or in whatever, and we're not engaged with our children, and we're not engaged with our communities, because I think many people just feel burnt out by society, by the demands on us, by the corporate demands, by the economic demands. It's exhausting. But we need to move into a space where we start making sacrifices and realize, now is the time to stand up for what's right, and now is the time to protect our children. We're going to be handing our children over into slavery if we do not do something. Because the one thing I got from reading all the SLPs, and they are available on the website, leaveourkidsalone.co.za. All the SLPs for all the grades are available on there. And all of your children will be learning it, because the government wants to take over private and homeschooling curriculums as well. And the overarching message is that at the end of the day, after the kids have finished school, or even just the lessons after a year, what it does for the kids, it normalizes a sick, perverse society.
Absolutely.
It makes that normal to them. So when they go out into the world, they expect the worst of the worst. And that is not the case. There are still lots, and this is something the media doesn't show, and this is something leaders don't speak about. There are still lots of good men out there, and lots of good father figures out there, and lots of anchors in the community that are leading, and there are lots of good mothers out there. And that is being completely ignored. The other thing that's being completely ignored is that over 80% of the population is religious. That is over 80%. This is why the government has not been transparent about the SLPs, because they know the backlash will be huge. So an education drive is first on my priority list, which we will be embarking on after the 13th of February. I want to go all over the country, having community engagements and speaking to parents and citizens about what the government is doing and how that affects our freedom. This is the first massive attack on our religious freedom.
Absolutely.
Never in the history of the South African democracy has religion been attacked like this.
Yeah.
And we need to take it very personally.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, Lauren, can we go to another ad break and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, sure.
On 88.9 MHz, One Nation FM, Polokwane's only talk station.
It's back to school time this January, and so it's our amazing low prices. Get a gift wrap 1 meter for 5 Rand 99, plastic cover 5 meter 8 Rand 99, and A4 72 pages book for only 3 Rand 99. Don't forget to add your color craft 6 meter for 12 Rand 99. Lunchbox Otima 1.2 liter snap is only 9 Rand 99. And lastly, our Otima water bottle 500 milliliter yona fela we ka 7 Rand 99. For January only, hurry to Super Save Polokwane for more low prices. Super Save, your number one store.
Sebo ya gago ka tša go aga dintlo le go agela ruri e tla ka go naba dilo tšeo o bego o di tshediša mahlo le go se di kgathalle di go tlhaloša ka gore o tshwanetse go tseba nnete ka gasamente sa quality. PPC e go tlišetša ka boikgantšho tshwantšhetšo dikgang ya dikagong mo re kopanago le mma PPC bommagwe le kwakwariri ye boleta bokgoba puku bja tsebo ya disamente ya go sepela ka dinao ra lebenkelela tša dikago la mo motseng ntate mothusi itukišetše go tla go ithuta le go kgahlwa ka ge o le motheletši yo botegetše go radio setiši se se be wa hlaelwa ke dikagong ka labone le lengwe le le lengwe ka metsotso e 25 go ya iring ya botshelela mathapama o tlhoya tsebe gape ka mokibelo gare ga iri ya botshelela mesong le iri ya bosenyane dikagong mo go agiwago.
Every drop counts. It counts for nourishment, hygiene, sustenance. It counts for an education. Your sponsored water well is not only providing water, it gives hope. Imagine your one drop can earn you perpetual reward. Sponsor a water well at 12,000 rands or a borehole at 42,500 rands in the name of a deceased loved one or for gaining shifa. Contact AMA now on 011 834 8685. Africa Muslims Agency, inspiring the spirit of giving.
Kids these days are smart, and when you're competing for their attention against their smartphones, you need to make smart choices, like using Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil in every meal you make. It's naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether you're cooking, frying, or baking, you get the great tasting results that'll get their attention faster than the latest app. And if that doesn't work, change the Wi-Fi password. Sunfoil. Now we're cooking.
AM Karim Attorneys. Over 25 years experience. We assist with all legal matters including property transfers, estates, wills, commercial law, property law, labor law, CCMA representation, marriage contracts, divorce and general legal matters. Corner Vetclap and Doornkral Street, Ladana. Call AM Karim Attorneys on 015-293-1666. That's 015-293-1666.
Listen to us live on Facebook, One Nation FM Story Blog, and click Listen Live, and you're tuned in.
Welcome to Coffee and Conversation, where we're talking CSE, and our guest on the show today is Lauren Eviathan Bernardo. She is the founder of the organization called Leave Our Kids Alone, and she's been giving us great insight into what's happening with regards to the comprehensive sexuality education curriculum, which currently stands to be implemented, already has been implemented in 1,500 schools in our country. Just as a reminder to our listeners, we do have a WhatsApp number 071-468-2834 where you can send any questions that you have, and we will try our best to answer it. We also stream our show live on Facebook on our page One Nation FM. One is in the number One Nation FM. So if you can't connect on the radio, you can always stream us live on Facebook. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Hi, Awalini.
Welcome back to One Nation FM. And we left off where you were telling us about what your plans are for this year.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So further plans, besides touring the country and having community engagements everywhere, because it is of paramount importance that people know what's going on.
Yes.
On the 13th of February, we're having our first nationwide action. So 13th of February is the State of the Nation address. So it's the
Yes.
same day that Parliament opens up for the year. And it's a day in which all our leaders and MPs and ministers will be walking up and down the red carpet in their fancy designer dresses and suits. And President Cyril Ramaphosa will try to give a positive and uplifting speech about the state of the nation. And on that very day is when we are planning, mobilizing and organizing for an event that will take place in not every municipality, but we're aiming for as many municipalities as possible across South Africa. And we're asking people to wear white on that day, to show up in numbers. They can bring their kids along as well.
Okay.
And what's going to happen is that we're going to march along a route. So every municipality will have their own route and their own destination, which they'll get to.
Okay.
And once they get to that destination, there will be a spokesperson that will read what it is that we want from the government.
All right.
And that is the complete removal of comprehensive sexuality education, among a few other things. And this is happening across the nation. And this has never happened ever in South Africa, something that's organized with one message.
Wonderful.
That
So, Lauren.
United.
Yeah, just sorry to interrupt you there. So, I mean, for parents that are living in Polokwane, who obviously will be also exposed, their kids will be exposed to the CSE curriculum. Nobody's immune to it. Is it important for them to be part of this nationwide effort to expose the government and what they're doing about CSE, and that we want them to stop? How do the people of Polokwane get involved if they want to be involved in this initiative?
Well, the best thing they can do is go to the group.
Yes.
There's also a number, a WhatsApp line dedicated to this.
Right.
And I'll give it, I can give it to you now.
Yes.
I'll give it to the listeners now. And you can just say who you are, what your name is, and which, area you come from. And it's 066-556-9940. We're using the WhatsApp line.
Okay.
To communicate with all those that are willing to get involved, and we will assign you then to the correct WhatsApp group and the correct event page.
Okay.
And then further details with regard to the route you'll be following in regard to the meeting place will be given to you. And it's important to note that we need everyone's involvement.
Yeah.
Even if it seems like your school isn't teaching the new SLPs, it's quite possible that comprehensive sexuality education has already creeped into the curriculum.
Yeah.
And from a long time ago, from years ago, and your children have been learning it. Another thing you need to look out for, which many people have pointed out, is the grade 7 natural science curriculum is no longer just about biology. It's also been sexualized. They're also bringing condoms, sexual relationships, and other things. And this is natural sciences. We're supposed to be learning about pure biology. And this is being taught from grade 7. Whereas when you and I were at school, it was taught from high school age, from probably grade 10 or grade 11.
Yeah. So it's just, it's nobody's immune to it. I mean, if you think you have a kid in a private school that doesn't teach the CAPS curriculum, and mind you, I do have kids in private schools as well, and some of the CAPS curriculums are part of the curriculum inside the private schools. And I've also had experiences where I've seen some of the sexual content in my children's lesson plans. So, and this, not talking about CSE as it is being implemented now. This was years ago, where I came across some stuff in my children's book, which I was not happy about. So you are right. It's not that to say that it's only public schools that are affected. Private schools are affected, or soon will be affected. I think parents are just unaware. Like you said, they don't know. They don't bother opening their kids' books and seeing what's being taught. So would you say that this is a responsibility towards everybody, that, you know, to get involved in this?
It is everyone's responsibility. It's now or never. We have to stand up and protect our children. And it takes action from everybody. I mean, I've dealt with 1,500 schools this year getting the new SLPs, and I've spoken to quite a few parents from many of those schools. So one thing you need to know is that the Department of Basic Education refuses to give that list of 1,500 schools. So we've had to find it the hard way, and parents from those schools have contacted us. And now one of the biggest problems I've come across is that, like, parents in one school, or the one mom that I spoke to who told me about this one school that's teaching through the new SLP, she says that she doesn't know any other parents. Her kids go to creche, or whatever you call it, in the morning, and she fetches them from creche in the afternoon, and she never gets to go to the school and never gets to see the other parents. There's no WhatsApp group for the classes. So as parents, There are schools where they're completely isolated from one another.
Yeah.
And that is one of the biggest problems, the very system of society in which we are living in. And it's also a United Nations directive to isolate people, to stop people from communicating with each other, to stop people from moving around their communities. It's part of the agenda to completely disempower us, because if we can't talk to each other, then we can't organize among each other, and then we can't resist.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking at. So we need parents to start making conversation with other moms and dads. Stop being shy. Stop doubting. You actually have to get out of your car if you're at school and talk to other moms and dads. Talk to them about everything happening in the community, not just CSE. We need to live like our grandparents did.
Yeah.
We need to know what's going on in our neighbors' houses, like we used to back in the day.
Yeah, the
because
old
that's what
adage,
keeps communities safe.
that says it takes a village to raise a child. It's never more truer now than it was then.
It takes a village to raise a child, not the government to raise a child.
Right. Yeah. So Lauren, I think I think you've really educated us on the topic of CSE. You're doing amazing, fantastic work. And I know you're spending most of your time, like hours per day. I think it's, from what I read on your group, you spend more than 8 hours a day every single day dedicated to this particular topic of CSE. Thank you for all your efforts. Thank you for the time that you're putting in this. And just one last message that you would like to give to the community of Polokwane.
Well, I thanks for listeners for listening in to this very important radio interview. I think that, as South Africans, we have the opportunity to unite and to actually do something good for this country, and not to wait for someone we elected to do something good for this country, but for us ourselves to take it upon ourselves, to take upon the responsibility to actually make sure our children have a good future. And the beautiful thing about comprehensive sexuality education this issue that has risen up this year, is that it has awakened parental instincts again. I think just surviving, we have abandoned our God-given rights and responsibility as mothers and fathers, and we've left the care of our children up to the state and up to, aftercares and up to other people and babysitters even, and other family members. And now is the time to remember that we are our children's primary educators and caregivers. And there are forces in this world that are powerful, strong, organized, and resourceful, that are trying to take parents' powers away.
Yes.
And we need everyone in Polokwane and in every other corner of South Africa to start uniting behind this.
Wonderful.
Because this is the one cause that speaks to everybody, despite what differences we might have, despite what religious differences we have or cultural differences we have. This is parenting and child rearing is a very natural thing. It's not rocket science. It's not complicated. A lot of the bad parenting comes from Western societal influence. If you just take a pregnant woman, and put her in the bush and let her, as an experiment, grow up in the middle of nowhere, she will parent her child, she will love her child, and she will guide her child the way she should. It's Western culture and Western influence that has completely messed up parenting, and this is why we are seeing problems with teenage pregnancies and teens going off the rails. It's because of modern Western culture infiltrating our home.
Absolutely.
And us abandoning our responsibility. So don't let the government tell you that they know better, and don't let the government make you think that you can just relinquish your rights. You are your child. You have to fight for your children. You need to be a hero for your children. And it's now that we have an opportunity to stand up as an entire country to resist what the government is doing. To get this right, then we can move on to all the other issues that are keeping this country oppressed.
Wonderful.
But CSE and the protection of our children is the first priority, because our children come first. And this is what we need to unite on. And now it is our opportunity. And I hope on the 13th of February, it's our first step. We are just showing the government that we are resisting comprehensive sexuality education. We want it out. It's our first step. Depending on the government's response thereafter, we will take further action. And we need every single person that is on our side to actually get involved. Don't think that you don't need to be out there. You don't need to stay at home because you're just one person. It's every one person that makes a difference. So we need all of you to take part on the 13th. and all of you to take part in all the other things that we will be doing afterwards to stop this from taking place in our country and in our schools.
Lauren, thank you so much for your time. It's much appreciated, and this will definitely not be the last time that we have you on One Nation FM. We are following the CSE project or the CSE problem closely, and yes, we're going to see what the future holds for Leave Our Kids Alone and for the future of our country, future of our parents. We're definitely behind you 100%, and the people of Polokwane have heard you today, and we hope they come out in full force on the 13th of February to make their voices heard for the benefit of our children. So thank you very much, Lauren.
Thank you, Tamaya, and thank you to our listeners. And please remember to go to our Facebook group and join the group so you can get informed on what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so listeners, I hope that this was an inspiring talk for you today. It was an inspiring and uplifting discussion to know that there are people out there that are doing something about CSE. But I think the take-home message for each one of you out there that is listening is to understand that you as a parent have a role and a responsibility towards your child, and that is to know what your child is being taught, number one, and it is to disapprove and make your voice heard when it comes to CSE in the schools, and to support the cause called Leave Our Kids Alone. A nationwide effort is being made on the 13th of February, the date of which the State of the Nation's address is being held, where people are supposed to come out wearing white, and we will hand over our grievances to the government with regards to CSE, telling them that we want to have it removed from schools. So please go to Lauren's Facebook page, #Leave Our Kids Alone, and the website www.leaveourkidsalone.co.za. That will be all for today. Thank you and God bless.
On 88.9 MHz, One Nation FM, Polokwane's only talk station.
It's back to school time this January, and so is our amazing low prices. Get a gift wrap 1 meter for R5.99, plastic cover 5 meter R8.99, and A4 72 pages book for only R3.99. Don't forget to add your color craft 6 meter for R12.99. Lunchbox Otima 1.2 liter snap is only R9.99. And lastly, our Otima water bottle 500 milliliter yona fela we khwetsa R7.99. For January only, hurry to Super Safe Polokwane for more low prices. Super Safe, your number one store.
Sebo ya gago ka tša go aga dintlo le go agela ruri e tla ka go naba dilo tšeo o bego o di tshediša mahlo le go se di kgathalle di tla go tlhaloša ka gore o tshwanetse go tseba nnete ka gasamente sa quality. PPC e go tlišetša ka boikgantšho tshwantšhetšo dikgang ya dikagong mo re kopanago le mma PPC bommagwe le kwakwariri ye boletša go goba puku bja tshego ya disamente ya go sepela ka dinao ra lebenkelela tša dikago la mo motseng ntate mothusi itukišetše go tla go ithuta le go kgahlwa ka ge o le motheletši yo botegetšego radio